Hello internet, hello and welcome to this video. Today I just want to take a look at the 5 new items that got released on Friday, and those being the Light Brand, the Searing Light, the Frozen Light, the Dawnbringer and the Grimoire of Power. Now all of these are very interesting and are of course going to make an impact on the game because they are new items. So let's just take a look at them. Now, the core item for all of these new items would be the Light Brand. The Light Brand is the intelligence version of Fire Brand and Ice Brand, has exactly the same build up. You have to buy a Neophyte's book and an Apprentice robe and a recipe, costs the exact same amount, but it provides a few different benefits. Now, something interesting about the Light Brand is that it is the only item in the game that provides you with a flat out mana regeneration. All other items give you a percentage based mana regeneration. This item gives you free mana regeneration. Doesn't matter who you are. Now the nice thing about this item is its passive. The passive is something entirely new to the game. It's called Searing. Searing does stack with exclusive attack modifiers. It's an entirely new thing. It doesn't stack with itself. And it is very interesting. So let me just show it to you. Whenever I attack an enemy, they get a stack of Searing, up to 3 stacks walk. And for every stack, they take DPS. It's pretty simple. Now the interesting part about this is that it does not only hit the main target, no, it does hit in a small AoE. So if you get this guy a little bit closer, as you can see, the AoE isn't all that big, but if you just get him closer, the Searing propagates to him, and he now also has 3 stacks of Searing on himself. This occurs doesn't, but if we get him close enough, as you can see, he now also has 3 stacks on Searing on himself. This is very interesting and very useful. Now, the level 1 Searing, which would be the Searing effect of the Light Brand, isn't all that powerful. It only provides 8 magic damage per second. But if we upgrade it, it gets all the more ridiculous. As you can see right here, the Light Brand builds into 4 different items, being the Dawnbringer, Frozen Light, Grimoire of Power, and the Searing Light. Frozen Light is Light Brand plus Ice Brand, and Searing Light is Light Brand plus Fire Brand. Now, this works exactly the same way the Frostburn does. You get all the benefits from all the items combined, but they improve just a little bit. Now this is what I like to consider the level 2 Searing. The Searing from Searing Light and Frozen Light at that deals 12 magic damage per second per charge. So if we start hitting the curse now, all of these will drop significantly quicker because they now get damaged more, which is quite obvious, isn't it? Now if we pick up another version of these brand items, the Ice Brand, we are going to get the Dawnbringer. The Dawnbringer is the ultimate item in the game. Well, that's not exactly true, but it is the most expensive item in the game, and it provides us with all the benefits from all 3 items combined. So we get a lot of stats, we get additional movement speed, additional attack speed, we get a slow effect, and we get the Searing, the level 3 Searing at that, which deals 16 magic damage per second per charge, which, as we all know since we can do math, is now up to 48 damage per second. So that's actually very powerful. That's more than a Mock of Brilliance. Now, why am I using Webinar for this? This was just me trying something ridiculous. I was hoping that this would work with Webinar. It doesn't, sadly enough. But before we get into talking about heroes and hero item combinations and all of that fun stuff, we first have to finish talking about the new items, and the last one left is the Grimoire of Power. The Grimoire of Power is probably the most interesting of the new items. It has the same kind of build-up Geometra's Bane and Frostwolf Skull have, so you need the Light Brand, a Blessed Orb, and a recipe. Now, the amazing thing about this item is, first of all, it provides you with some decent stats. It's not all that bad, but, and now shit is getting serious. It provides you with an additional 15% damage on everything. Entirely unreliant on who you are, it's not depending on attacks, it's not depending on spells, it's just straight up you deal 15% more damage. And it also has the searing, let's call it level 0, because it's a little bit different. Now this searing effect still has the AoE, still works the same way the others do, except for the fact that it doesn't stack, it's just straight up 40 magic damage per second in the AoE. And one hit, you get the full 40 damage, but it doesn't stack with itself. Now, the first question I asked myself after taking a look at this item was, does it work with split shot? And yes, it does. So it works in the same kind of way Frostwolf Skull or Nullfire Blade work. It just straight up works. You get the searing on all 3 targets. As you can see, these are not in range. And that's of course pretty useful, because if we just get this one in range, yay, we get searing on him as well. And every time he gets close to an enemy that has the searing on him, he will burn as well. So that's quite amazing for heroes such as Forsaken Archer and Draconis. Actually, these are the only 2, but they are important enough for this to be a big deal. This, of course, also works with the Dawnbringer, which is just straight up amazing. The Dawnbringer is a great item overall because of its very, very cheap build up and provides you with so much that I feel like this is probably gonna get picked up a lot once players realize just how dangerous this can actually be. Now, another question that I think is a big deal is whether or not the Grimoire of Power and the searing works with illusions. Because if we are going to buy a Dawnbringer on the hero such as Forsaken Archer, we of course want to split it up. And I can't do that right now. So let's just buy the Frostwolf Skull, the Grimoire of Power, and the Geometrious Bane. Refresh, TP back to our enemies, and then try whether or not this is actually viable. So, this is what it would look like once you finished splitting up the Dawnbringer and getting all 3 of the items. And let's just activate Geometrious Bane and hope for the best. Turns out it doesn't work. The searing effect, just like any other attack modifier, doesn't propagate to illusions. The slow doesn't, Nullfire Blade doesn't, Lifesteal doesn't, and the searing also doesn't. So that's kind of a downer, but it still doesn't make the item terrible. I just feel like maybe the Grimoire of Power isn't all that useful compared to an item such as, I don't know, Butterfly, Savage Maze. I just feel like these are more late game style items because they provide you with just straight up damage instead of having a percentage based damage, which is just not as useful, because to deal more damage, if you already deal damage, you first of all have to deal damage, and if you can't do that because your inventory is stacked with something that only works if you actually deal damage, that's kind of a, it doesn't work that well, does it? Now I'm just gonna include this because this is the question all of you are gonna be asking. Yes, it does work with Codex and spell shards, so we just Codex him with the Grimoire of Power equipped and Codex him without. As you can see, it deals 15% more damage, which is just crazy fun. So the Scout Codex strat just got buffed. Yeah. Now, it's very early to say anything about item builds or heroes and all of that fun stuff with who can I get it on, who is a prime candidate for getting it on. The item just got released yesterday and it's very difficult to predict such things. But if I'm gonna have to, I would say that heroes that like to get Frostburn and just keep the Frostburn are gonna get a Dawnbringer now. Just because it works. Just because it's amazing to have an additional bonus on there. And if you're gonna have the Frostburn either way, why not upgrade it? It does not cost you an additional item spot. Now, voices I have heard are calling out Revenant as being a prime candidate for getting the Dawnbringer on, which I can definitely see. It just benefits him a lot and it allows for him to somewhat carry, but I just don't know yet. I really don't know yet. A lot of players call out Shadow Blade, which of course is the obvious choice because he's the only hero in the game that truly benefits from having good stats in all three stats. So yes, he is definitely gonna be a prime candidate. Then we got the Forsaken Archer and the Draconis, of course, both of which have the Splitfire, which works great with the searing effect. So that of course is amazing as well. I especially like it on Draconis because one of the main reasons why I personally like to get the Null Stone on Draconis is the mana regeneration. It allows you to farm indefinitely, but the Lightbrand also provides a crazy amount of mana regeneration, which is why I think that getting it on Draconis is gonna be very useful. Then another hero where I felt like the new items are just amazing on is Vindicator. I'm not talking about the Dawnbringer here, I'm talking about the Grimoire of Power. Vindicator always had the problem of not truly having an orb effect to work with, just because the master's incantation already works as an exclusive attack modifier, and he really can't use a Nullfire Blade. So, since the Searing is not an exclusive attack modifier, he can definitely use that, and that's gonna be a great item to pick up on him. It also increases his true damage, which again is just amazing. Now another hero I felt like getting it on maybe would be Thunderbringer, just because he's gonna be a glass cannon either way. And he's mostly representative of heroes such as Bombardier, Chipper, just straight up burst heroes, maybe even Kinesis, that can benefit from dealing additional damage. Though I don't know if the splash shots are gonna be better on those. Again, it's very early to call such things, but oh well. Now, this is today's video. I know it was kind of short, but I wanted it to be short. And if you liked this, if you enjoyed this, then please leave a like, maybe leave a comment. If you didn't like it because you are like me and read the patch notes and take a look at the items yourselves, then maybe leave an angry comment or something along these lines. On a completely unrelated note, I only need 10 more subscribers to get to 1,000, so please, maybe share this video with a friend, maybe share another video which you enjoyed a lot with a friend, and maybe ask them to subscribe. I don't know, but please help me get to 1,000 today. Maybe I would be so happy if we can do that. That would totally make my day. So please. Oh well. See ya next time.